So looking here, our focus is going to be on production, because remember, we've already shown how if you purchase finished goods as a whole, or you're purchasing your raw materials for production, you're looking at that purchaser cycle. So when we're looking at the inventory and production cycle, the focus here is on, first of all, your quantity on hand, which was something that in the cycle they had the stock count for, and then your production of inventory. So when they actually go about manufacturing inventory. So thinking about inventory, how do they go about recording it? Inventory is recorded as your quantity multiplied by your price, which is going to equal the cost of inventory recorded in your accounting records. But remember, in terms of IAS 2, inventory needs to be recorded at the lower of cost and net realizable value. So there's going to have to be considerations as to how to get to that cost, considerations as to what the NRV is, and then be able to see if it is measured at the lower of the two. So now, from a quantity perspective, there is the stock count, and the auditor can actually go and attend the stock count, do their own test counts to see that the quantity that they've recorded is actually correct. So where the work really is going to come in is in determining this cost of inventory. Because we're saying you've got to measure it at the lower of cost and NRV. So what is inventory made up of? You're going to have to see that it's made up of raw materials, work in progress, finished goods, and goods in transit. Okay? That's what's making up that closing inventory balance, which is what this inventory cycle is actually going to be looking at. So what happens is they're going to purchase raw materials with the purchaser cycle considerations and record it according to the transaction price, which is the cost plus those additional costs that need to be included, less those costs that need to be excluded, like your VAT and storage and so on. So your raw materials will be then converted into work in progress, which will then be converted into finished goods. I've got to see all of these elements when I'm looking at inventory, production, and trying to work out the cost of each. My raw materials cost is based on the invoice that was received, and this was in your purchase cycle. Remembering that there were additional costs to include and costs to exclude, to make sure the raw materials amount is correct initially. Then you go in from raw materials into work in progress to start the manufacturing of the good. And so work in progress is going to be made up of raw materials based on that invoice. It's also now going to have labor costs, which are going to be the hours times by the rate of your labor employees. And it's also going to have overheads. But the thing with work in progress is you're not 100% complete, so we're dealing with a percentage of what the final cost is going to be. From work in progress, when it's finished, it moves into your finished goods, and your finished goods are now 100% complete, But finished goods is now also made up of raw materials based on the invoice, the labor, which is your hours and your rates, and the overheads. The difference is it's not a percentage, it's 100%. Guys, where you struggle here is you generally look at a finished good in terms of a non-production cycle where they purchase inventory whole. And then there's a cost for it. They went and they purchased their Samsung phone and they paid 10,000 Rand for it. And so you see the finished good being 10,000 Rand. But that's because you purchased a finished good. Now when the company's in a production cycle, yes, there is now the Samsung phone that they produced, but in order for them to get to the cost of that Samsung phone, they had to take what were the cost of the raw materials that they used to generate it, the battery, the cover, the software. Then, what were the cost of the hours that were used by the employees to put it all together, to make it into a nice, beautiful little phone? And what percentage of our overheads, the electricity, the water, the factory lights and so on, can be added to this specific inventory item of finished goods? That's how much we can. That is now how you determine the finished good price for that item. Okay, goods in transit, so that's got nothing to do with production. That's when they are bringing it in. So guys, even goods in transit, you potentially are looking more in your purchase cycle. The thing is, they actually haven't been received yet. Okay, but it is a component of the full part of inventory, so it still needs to be considered as inventory. But again, your invoice here will show you what that should be. Okay, so now I've shown you the components of your production and all of the inventory that would need to be included. And we've said it has to be recorded the low of cost and net realizable value. So now you're going to have to do some work to see what is the cost, what is the net realizable value. Where things get a little bit tricky here is that IFRS gives you different ways to determine the cost. So they say you might choose to use FIFO to determine the cost. So you're not necessarily going to have the raw material invoice price as that price that's going to go into your work in progress or your finished good. It could be the latest invoice that you've received for those items, not the invoice you received when you purchased that raw material 10 months ago. Or you could choose to go with a weighted average. And then, again, taking all of your invoices to get to an average price for those raw materials. Or they say you could choose another method like specific identification. To determine that. And then we all know, guys, that you could use standard costing in terms of what your MANAC requirements are to determine the cost. And where you've got standard costing, you're going to have a standard quantity and a standard price. And if those differ from actual, you've got variances that potentially need to be added to the inventory price or inventory cost, or need to be expensed, depending on whether the standards are actually comparable to what actual will be. Okay, so we've got a lot of things that you're going to have to consider when you're auditing inventory now, substantively, because you've got to be able to break it up into its components, break it up into the IFRS requirements, break it up into the quantity versus price, see that you're going to have to do work on the quantity, and then go working on that price and see how you're going to get the evidence you need to see that the raw materials price is right, work in progress is actually right and all its components, finished goods is right with all its components, and you've tested the cost side of things. And once you've done that, you're going to then have to go and test the net realizable value side of things, which is the latest selling price of that inventory less cost to sell. So getting a sales invoice and seeing, oh, that's how much it cost us, or that's how much we sold it for, which would then ultimately be net of the cost to sell, and then doing that comparison to see that it has been recorded according to the IFRS requirements, which were in IAS 2. Lots of work comes in when substantively auditing inventory. So what's your journal? Well, we've already recorded the purchase of the raw materials in the purchaser cycle. So it would be now moving it out of there. So you would have your debit, work in progress, and you would have credit, raw materials, labor, and overheads that have been allowed to be allocated. So you'd have obviously your date, your details, and your amount for recording the transfer here. Then you would have to move that into finished goods when it's done. So then you would have your debit, finished goods, credit, work in progress. Okay. We've already discussed the documents to show you what you need to in order to record these. So for your raw materials, it's your invoice. For your labor, it's your contract and the clock cards if it is wage employees. And for your overheads, there will be an allocation schedule that management use to determine that. If, however, they choose to go with the standard type costing, then you would have your standard quantity in terms of raw material quantity, labor hours, and your standard price for your raw materials and your rates. You would then still have to do actual. You would still have to compare this to the actual. So still looking at what we've done over there in order to work out your variances. Okay, so what's your IFRS requirements? It needs to be measured at the lower of cost and net realizable value. Costs are cost to purchase, costs of a conversion, and other costs incurred in bringing the inventory to their present location. So you've got to make sure that when you're testing the cost, you're testing all of these components because that's what IFRS says makes up the cost for inventory. And then it tells you how can you assign your cost using FIFO weighted average or specific identification. Okay, so what are the risks here with regards to your inventory? The transaction was recording your raw material purchase, or if you purchase finished goods as a whole, then that would be the recording of this. So the rest of these risks lie in the balance of your inventory, because you're not really transacting, now you are actually manufacturing or producing. And so your risks are going to be with regards to this balance, that they have inventory that doesn't exist because it's potentially been stolen, because it's potentially been sold and they haven't removed it, or that the inventory is recorded at the incorrect amount. And this could be because your cost is incorrect, or it could be because it's not at the lower of cost and net realizable value. There's also a risk that they don't have the right. So your consignment stock, or goods in transit, have risk and rewards actually transferred? And also then maybe they do have a right and they don't record it because they didn't physically get the inventory on hand and therefore didn't record it, but the risks and rewards have transferred and so they should. Okay, so guys, when we get into auditing inventory substantively, there's going to be a lot of work you're going to have to consider and therefore understand that, you know, when it comes to manufactured inventory, because of all the different components that you're going to have to test, it could be out of 50 marks. And look why, because we can literally say, okay, first you've got to go and test your raw materials, so maybe we give you 10 marks for testing of raw materials. Work in progress, lots of work with regards to work in progress, so maybe there's 15 marks for work in progress. Finished goods, maybe there's 10 marks for finished goods here. Goods in transit, maybe there's another 10 marks for goods in transit. And then making sure that you've recorded it at the low of cost and net realizable value. And there's your 50 marks, including the stock count. Let's put the 5 here as well, because it's 1 mark or 2 marks for NRV, and then a couple of marks for that stock count too. Okay, so next we'll get to finance and investment.